We harness energy drawn from other dimensions of the multiverse to make magic.
Hours and hours of screen time, poster boys of the Avengers films, massive paydays, and billions of dollars in the box office. Sadly, none of the above mentioned things can be associated with the MCU heroes that we're about to mention today. The MCU is probably the only filmmaking company out there that's managed to make such a detailed and interconnected universe ranging of thousands of cast members. But the bad side of this is that there are so many badass characters and heroes that have been sidelined during the 13 years and never got the crazy love and support of the fans like the OGs did. While you may not see many people asking for a standalone Rhodey film or being spotted wearing a Maria Hill cosplay, this list celebrates an elite list of underrated Marvel characters that are just as exciting as the poster boys of the MCU. So let's get straight to the list. Before Doctor Strange boasted a portfolio that showcased him as the master of the mystic arts and the sorcerer supreme, there was another one before him who enjoyed making portals out of sling rings just as much, if not more. Despite the controversy surrounding a white woman landing the job of an Asian male if you were to compare the comics, Tilda Swinton gave a show-stealing and unreal portrayal as she built Strange up from a self-righteous snob to eventually the man who took her job. Through the eyes of the Ancient One, we got to see some of the MCU's best ever battles, especially the one between her and her longtime foe Cassidius. She was basically the glue that kept this film together, heightening it to a new level when she ultimately revealed that she was alive by stealing powers from the Dark Dimension. She has to be one of the most underrated MCU heroes, considering she gave the fans a brand new poster boy, wiped the floor with hundreds of bad dudes, died protecting the world from facing the Dark Dimension, and even made a deal with a very angry looking Green Man during a time heist. That's a lot of work for one character if you ask me.
The high-end community it's a tight-knit. The high-end community is a very tight-knit.
Where do you even start with the show-stealing performance that Michael Rooker delivered as the leader of the Ravagers, Yondu Odonta? He's only got 2 appearances in the MCU, and despite that, his character development progressed like a roller coaster. We've hated him, been annoyed at him, laughed with him, and finally even cried with him during his last appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Originally the man who adopted Peter Quill, Yondu converted his son into a petty thief and used him for his own good. But despite this almost Loki-esque character behaving as unpredictably as ever, all is forgotten once he pulls out his Yaka arrow and sends everyone within a 10-mile radius straight to hell. Personally, fans were very excited to see him to be part of Infinity War in the hopes of an entertaining face-off with Thanos, but his selflessness combined with the shortage of breathing devices proved to be deadly as we had to say goodbye to one of the coolest characters from the Guardians roster. Maria Hill's one of the oldest characters that the MCU's seen. Although she's never really a central figure in any of the films she's appeared in, Maria Hill's always been a loyal first-in-command officer to Nick Fury and made for a simply badass deputy director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Her character stood out because she was more than the usual expository dumping character in the films. She dumped bad guys to the ground as well. She possesses different qualities of some of our favourite MCU heroes. The wit of Tony Stark, the agility and combat skills that mimic somewhat that of Natasha's, and the screen time of Hawkeye. Yep, we went there. But despite all of these attributes, she fell off the radar sometime after Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where she and Fury worked together in planning his fake death to take down Hydra. After that film, she made a few appearances here and there, but nothing concrete compared to the prowess and talent she showed during the first Avengers film. Out of all of her badass moments, nothing will ever top the time she dumbed down the description of Wanda and Pietro to Cap by saying,
"He's fast and she's weird."
Well, they're gonna show up again.
Agreed.
Played by the talented Idris Elba, Heimdall's been quite an underrated character in the MCU, appearing in Thor as one of Thor's closest allies as he guarded the Bifrost Bridge like his friendship and legacy depended on it. He had the typical characteristics of a superhero in the making. I mean, he was big, strong, and wore a really cool shiny suit, but never broke through in the MCU except for the Thor film appearances. In fact, the only time Heimdall made a non-Thor film appearance, he died. R.I.P. Heimdall. Nonetheless, we can't take away from some of the amazing performances of his we got to see. The pairing of Elba and Chris Hemsworth being something of a wet dream for millions of women and men around the globe.
am the Mandarin!
Next on the list is the woman who had the hardest job of all in the MCU, being Tony Stark's assistant. Pepper was introduced in the very first MCU film Iron Man opposite Robert Downey Jr. and grew to have much more of a prominent role in the subsequent sequels. She went from his assistant to girlfriend to eventually wife, and boy, was it a topsy-turvy ride. Not only did she help Tony keep his massive empire running, she came all guns blazing in Avengers Endgame in her very own Iron Man costume to give Wanda and Vision competition for Power Couple of the Year. But it has to be said that Pepper's fallen off from the MCU's radar for quite a while now. Besides a short appearance in Spider-Man Homecoming and Endgame, she hasn't really been in the mix since Iron Man 3. And by the looks of it, we sadly may never see her make an appearance again after the death of Tony, which is a spoiler warning in case you're that one person who hasn't seen Avengers Endgame. Nevertheless, her run has somewhat come to a tragic end with her daughter being fatherless, but if we know anything about Pepper, she'll be fine on her own.
We're gonna be okay. You can rest now.
My king.
Stop it. Stop it.
A tech genius, a part of a crazy rich family, and a quick-witted badass. I guess being a playboy is the only thing that differentiates Shuri from Tony Stark. Ever since she was introduced in Black Panther as the sister of T'Challa, Shuri's been loved by millions of MCU fans around the globe. Her ability to develop all kinds of tech from vibranium while also being the only person alive capable of making a brother laugh, Shuri truly is amazing to watch. But sadly, she's never talked about much compared to the big guns. Some of the reason can be because she's only been a part of 2 films, one of which had upwards of 100 main characters, so she didn't get the time to shine. But with rumours of her taking on a much bigger role in the Black Panther sequel after the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, only the sky's the limit for Shuri. It's been proven that she's as smart, if not smarter, than Banner himself, but fans will be very interested to see different sides to her character and how her character will respond to the change as and when the new Black Panther film releases.
You're recording.
For research purposes.
And as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say. Are you ready?
The man who'd been the voice of Jarvis for all those years. Vision made his debut in the MCU in Avengers Ultron, where he not only ended up being instrumental in stopping the big bad, but lifted Thor's hammer like it was some ordinary sledgehammer being used by a construction worker. Since then, Vision's story's just been growing, from a machine incapable of feeling emotion to becoming a lover boy that can't stop dying in front of his missus. Vision's stolen the show in so many instances. The central narrative's been his relationship with Wanda Maximoff, who brought back Vision to life in more than one instance, only to see him pass away moments later. But arguably one of the strongest Avengers to exist, Vision's still not considered as big as some other legendary characters such as Thor or Doctor Strange, probably because he's never had his own big picture event.
It's terribly well balanced.
Well, if there's too much weight, you lose power on the swing. I'm only gonna say this once. Get out.
There's so much to say about this iconic character that we honestly don't know where to start. 7 MCU appearances, a couple of dozen costume upgrades, and countless near-death experiences later, Agent Rhodes is still standing tall, with the help of Tony's leg braces, that is. Rhodey, as Tony liked to call him, has been there since the very first MCU movie, but sadly hasn't been getting much love lately from the writing team. While other smaller characters like Falcon, Wanda, and Vision have been stealing the limelight recently, there have been no plans to give the War Machine a story of his own. While some claim that his connection to Tony was what kept his character going, the truth is Rhodey was always a very dynamic and action-packed superhero, but was just never given center stage. Hell, there have even been more actors that have played Rhodey than there have been movies named after him, which is honestly pretty sad considering we expected big things from Rhodes early on during Phase 1. Despite this, the character's given us so many good memories, like the time we saw his suit for the first time, or his many crazy combat scenes in the Iron Man trilogy. Beginning his Marvel tenure as the random dude who couldn't beat Cap in a race, Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, has cemented himself as a regular in the MCU with his latest spin-off series with his best buddy Bucky. But we still feel, compared to some of our fan favourites, Falcon is still not talked about as much. Is it because he can't squirt spiderwebs out of his hands or create portals just by waving his hands around? We'll never know, but what we do know is that he's been one of the most loyal allies to Steve Rogers, and his character development in the last decade has allowed him to become the MCU's new Captain America. her. A big upgrade from the super serum injecting maniac that was John Walker, if you ask me. But finally, other than the usual showing off of Red Wing and flying midair during those cool superhero poster shots, we've started to see more of Sam's personal life and story. Hopefully, by the time Captain America's out, Sam may start receiving the love and appreciation his phenomenal character truly deserves.
He wanted to know about Siberia.
Why would he need to know that?
Because I'm not the only winter soldier.
Gracing our top spot, we have everyone's favourite soldier and every 13-year-old girl's man crush, Bucky Barnes. Making his first appearance in Captain America the First Avenger, Sebastian Stan reached the peak of his MCU character during The Winter Soldier, where he returned as a soldier being mind-controlled by Hydra. From there on, it's been friendship, tears, and heartbreak for the 100-year-old soldier who's lost his best friend, being considered a vigilante for decades, and most recently has had a haircut changing his vibe from badass anti-hero to the dude with the metal arm. His transformation to the Winter Soldier made for arguably one of the best storylines in any MCU movie. The White Wolf is still capable of taking on bad guys and smacking them across the multiverse with a single punch. With this, we've come to the end of our list. Now it's time for you, the fans, to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Would you like to see a spin-off with the Ancient One getting on a jet ski with Mobius in an alternate timeline? Or maybe a parallel universe where Yondu is a youth icon and a celebrated pop star? Let us know. As always, thanks for watching the video and subscribe to the TV Regent for more amazing content.